Welcome back. You're listening to the discussion, Modern Government, How COVID-19 Changed the Course of Digital Transformation, sponsored by KPMG on Federal News Network. I'm your host, Jason Miller. My guest today is Joe Klimovich, the Managing Director of the Federal CIO Advisory Practice at KPMG. Joe, we're talking a lot in the last segment about moving to the cloud, modernization, some of the imperatives that CIOs are facing. One of those big imperatives you mentioned was security, but with the flexibility and agility that you need, you can't just take it out. One of those reasons why you can have that ability and agility is because if you're in the hybrid or multi-cloud environment. Walk me through that process of how to ensure security, but still the agility when you're in this multi-cloud environment.
Sure. Well, thanks, Jason. Certainly, as more sensitive applications and regulated workloads migrate to the cloud, the security mandates are really paramount. I think it all starts with a cloud security assessment strategy. Assessing the current environment and then developing detailed, and I would say customized security, risk, and compliance roadmap, to achieve the desired business outcomes. Not all clouds are created equal. I mean, we were talking about hybrid. There's public, commercial, government. There's private. There's on-prem. There's many different flavors of clouds, and I also think, regardless, even if it's on-prem, you can't should not completely trust that cloud environment. You should expect and design for compromise. Hopefully it'll never happen, but you want to build that trust into it and safeguards in as much as you can. I think you need to take a holistic view of risk, but understand that security in the cloud is a shared responsibility. There's obviously the cloud service provider. There's also the mission owner, the cloud reseller. A lot of times, companies will say they have their own cloud environment, and they do, but it's actually in a different cloud environment. There's the app developer. There's the network, and then I think maybe people don't pay much attention to it, but there's the security operations center that's actually going to monitor 24/7 your workloads that are running in the cloud. I think this environment needs to be architected, implemented, and operated with all of the regulatory requirements in mind. I think engaging your cybersecurity compliance teams as early in the conversation as possible is a great way to ensure that you don't have any issues down the road. Traditional IT controls are still applicable in cloud-based services, but you've got to look at your environment holistically. I think we should try to automate the compliance checking to the maximum extent possible. That would include reporting. Monitoring tools can really help enforce security policies that are maybe cloud providers, are not focusing in on because of the variety of applications that they're supporting. Hybrid cloud management requires security capabilities around managing your accounts and system configurations. One thing that's really important is access to raw log data in real time. And I think looking at it from a life cycle perspective is incredibly important. And I'll stop here, but I think, as we mentioned earlier, the notion of the perimeter is really moot once your organization moves from a traditional data center to the cloud. And I think we really need to evolve from a static perimeter defense to a zero trust architecture. And it's great to see NIST come out with their publication 207 to really focus in on how do we build out a federal zero trust architecture. But this is going to be incredibly important as we figure out how to best secure our workloads in commercial cloud environments.
I had an interesting conversation the other day, Joe, with a security person at one of the agencies, and they made a funny comment about zero trust losing some of its sheen. It was a shiny object for so long, but now agencies are starting to get it. From your perspective, give me a sense of what goes into moving toward that zero trust architecture, that framework, because it's a lot of identity and access management that you and I have been talking about for 20 plus years now.
No, sure, Jason. I mean, I think you still need defense in depth, and a lot of when I talk to a number of CISAs, they're like, well, yeah, I'll get to zero trust eventually, but right now I've got to protect everything. And you do. You need to protect endpoints, applications, network, the perimeter, remote mobile access, and obviously your different cloud environments. And you just can't shut down your perimeter as you go to zero trust. You need a plan. And for me, zero trust includes strong identity management. That's very important. You need to be able to collect the data at scale across your entire cloud and your on-prem environment. You need to collect it across users, applications, devices, infrastructure. Software-defined networks, I think, are key for zero trust. And then advanced analytics to protect those assets and data and services. And also need to build a cyber-aware culture. The enabling technology, secure authentication, trusted key management, secure communications, encrypted databases, data provenance, and a multi-party computation. This is really encrypted analytics using homomorphic encryption, which it's a lot of words for basically saying you should never decrypt data, even if you're operating on it. With today's technology, no need to do that. And and emphasize security at the development layers on the data, at system integration, and obviously integrating user behavior in this. And I'll just stop with two different thoughts. Authentication is the new security boundary in the cloud. That authentication doesn't matter where you're coming in from. That needs to be really tight. Identity management, authentication, and encryption keys are the new passwords in the cloud. You need to have a trusted management of your encryption keys, but those are things that are really paramount as we go forward.
We've covered a lot of ground here. I want to continue the conversation, maybe move outside the pandemic imperatives. But are there other trends or challenges you're seeing CIOs are starting to face or continually face?
Well, I think again, going back to this Forrester survey of 700 executives. 2/3 of the leaders reported accelerating digital transformation strategies in the wake of the pandemic. They're really trying to drive. Well, I'll say I think that they're trying to do the same thing I was trying to do in the government, which is drive information and technology solutions at the pace of American innovation. You don't want to have your business leadership seeing things that are out there, and you don't have a strategy for taking advantage of those. So let me just hit you with a couple of principles and then some trends that I'm seeing in this technology world. Data centers. The government really needs to get out of the business of owning data centers. They don't scale. They're costly. There's more efficient ways to do things. IT infrastructure. Reduce the complexity. Leverage other solutions that are out there. The cloud provides a converged data analytics compute platform at scale. Cybersecurity, you got to build out cybersecurity, but should not impede the mission. I always like to try to figure ways I could build cyber so that users didn't actually see it as an impediment. User-first philosophy, we mentioned earlier about UX and CX. It's got to be out there. Data-focused design. How do we leverage data as a strategic asset? Innovation. Is key to create, rapidly creating value. I would say modernization does not equate to transformation. So I love all the talk about modernization, but transformation is actually more valuable than just modernization. Trends, Jason, data optimization and virtualization. We collect a lot of a lot of data in the government, but maybe only use it once, and then it goes into stored someplace, but nobody ever knows it exists. So minimizing dark data, rapid software development. We mentioned low code, no code, microservices, AI and machine learning. We have to lower the barrier though of entry to bring in these products in. There's a lot of there's a lot of training that has to go into bringing real artificial intelligence in. When you look at computing, there's neuromorphic, serverless, no ops, edge, quantum, deep learning accelerators. There's GPUs and TPUs, and I like to just refer to them as XPUs because they're specialized accelerators and processors for just about everything today. Communications, 5G, and convergence of a lot of different communications platforms. Some things that people are not talking much about is the convergence of bioscience with technology, power with data grids, the Internet of Bodies. The Internet of Bodies is the human body connected to the network. Huge implications for security, and this is actually occurring today. And I think nanotechnology, it's going to make that even easier, and essentially the emergence of subatomic capabilities. So that's a lot of information, but it's a lot to deal with if you're in a CIO position, a lot to protect.
Joe, we got about less than a minute to go here in our conversation. I've really enjoyed it. Give me maybe one opportunity or key enabler. I mean, CIOs, as you well know, are never starting at zero. They're never at 100. What's the key enabler? What's the key opportunity? If someone said, okay, Joe, I have all these things going on. What should I do first? Or how do I really get going to tackle all these imperatives you've just given me?
Well, I think there's two imperatives. One is move your workloads to the cloud. By that very nature, you'll understand better what you have, because I think in a lot of government data centers, they don't, I, for one, did not know what I had in a lot of those data centers. So you'll be able to sort that out. And I think the other thing is the workforce, right? I mean, it's huge, but both, there's a shortage of talent in this area. And I think that's one of the key reasons why modernization, transformation initiatives fail. I think if you can pay extra attention to the workforce, I always look at taking care of the workforce, and I extend that to the industry workforce as well. They'll take care of you. There's a lot of accelerators, connectors that are already built out there. Try to take advantage of them. Don't reinvent the wheel, because if you can leverage what somebody else has already done, that will save you a lot of time in that modernization effort. So those would be some of the key takeaways from how do you accelerate the IT modernization.
Ton of great information here, but I love you broke it down. Keep it simple. Move workers to the clouds. Take care of your workforce. Joe, this is, again, a fascinating conversation. I really do appreciate your time. So let me thank my guest. Joe Klimovich is the Managing Director of the Federal CIO Advisory Practice at KPMG. Joe, it's always great to catch up.
Thanks, Jason. Great to be here.
I'm Jason Miller, and you've been listening to the discussion, Modern Government, How COVID-19 Changed the Course of Digital Transformation, sponsored by KPMG on Federal News Network. Tune in next month for the next show in the Modern Government series. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search KPMG.